Music plays, we invite you to just relax. Close your eyes, rest in the presence, and hold space.
Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Gam Ganapataye Namo Namaha. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari. Jai Ganesha Gananata Dayaniti Sakala Vignya Karadura Hamari.
Namaste. Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang, being a Sanskrit word, literally means community of truth. Wherever 2 or 3 or more people come together who are on the path of awakening, the flowering of the heart in oneness with all that is, we have a satsang. And we're strengthened exponentially just by sharing our presence and our journeys together. We have found that it's a necessary ingredient in the spiritual journey, is to join together with others who are in the process of awakening. So glad you're here tonight. We share throughout these webcasts something we call the Flowering Heart Blessing, which is a direct transmission of divine presence, awakened consciousness, grace, love, light. It's a gift from the divine that catalyzes the flowering of the heart into oneness with the divine source and with all that is. When the divine revealed this particular blessing to us about 10 years ago, we were led to that we should not charge for it, so we don't. And to let everyone know that when you've received one of these blessings, you're fully initiated and activated to be able to share it with others. And guess what? If you're new to this, you're soaking in it right now. You're receiving it. So just open up, drink in the presence that's filling this satsang, and join us in sharing the blessing with others. You don't need to know what you're doing. All you do is just invite the divine to pour through you the Flowering Heart Blessing to all who join us tonight and to everyone who ever watches this video in the future. And the divine does all the rest. If you'd like to know more about the Flowering Heart Blessing, go to our website, floweringheart.org, floweringheart.org, and there are various links, but right there on the homepage, there's a link to a 36-minute initiation video where we talk a little bit more about the Flowering Heart Blessing and do a guided meditation of initiation. So if you don't have a blessing group where you are, it is a great tool in the journey of awakening. Divine blessings, transmissions of divine awakened consciousness, melt blocks and speed things up. And in that video, you have everything you need to start a blessing circle in your own community. Just invite a friend or 2 over and hit play on the video. You're welcome to download it and use it however you wish. It would just be great for everyone to have a blessing circle where we invite the divine to flow through us. We don't direct it, we don't visualize it, we don't use words or mantras. We just simply act as instruments and invite the divine to flow through us to awaken the person on. Well, when we're in the same room, we lay hands on each other's heads. But at a distance, it's by intention. And that's just as powerful, sometimes more powerful. So join us. Announcements. We had our monthly interfaith communion with the Cosmic Christ yesterday. The subject of the teaching was the true character of God. To thrive on earth, you must know the true character of God. The concept of God now has been so maligned and carries so much baggage, some people don't want to hear the G word at all. But that needs to be corrected if we want to thrive. So encourage you to watch it. It's up here on Facebook, on my profile page. It's on Vimeo, it's on LinkedIn, it's on YouTube. You'll find it somewhere. If you're here tonight, you can find it right wherever you're watching. So I encourage you to do that. People said it was a very dynamic and powerful teaching, and that's how I felt it as the divine gave it to me and it flowed through me. So
it was amazing.
There you go. So that'll be up on Facebook for a month, then they take the videos down, but it will be permanently on Vimeo And I'd be glad to send the link to anyone who emails me and asks for it on Dropbox. So, what else? I don't think there are any other announcements right now. Yay. That's great. Oh, my beloved is back. Those of you that were here last week saw me sitting there alone in front of the picture of Christ behind us. And we had a good meeting, but last week, so many things were happening. And Suzanne was out of state working on a project, and she's back. And she just got back this afternoon at 4:30 approximately. And she's with us tonight. I want to remember to invite everyone who's on Facebook Live, if you would, to give us a like or a love, thumbs up or a heart. We go in at the end and look at who dropped in and see your names and send special blessings and hugs to you. If you're watching on Vimeo, the chat is open. You could just leave your name and say hi, and we'll also send special blessings for you. Why are we doing this? Well, because the world needs to shift. The world needs to shift as quickly as possible. I don't think anyone needs to be persuaded that there's a bunch of trouble afoot all over the world. And we need to shift from a global insane culture rooted in competition, conflict, and war to a new earth, a new culture that's rooted in cooperation, harmony, and peace. That requires the shifting of the collective consciousness of humanity, which is still so divided, so filled with fear and anger and hatred. And maybe not you and me, and that's good because the awakening is happening one person at a time right now. But as one person awakens, ripples go out into the collective consciousness. And eventually we're going to reach critical mass where the whole thing shifts. I could spend the rest of the evening just talking about that, but we're not going to. Just so glad that you've consented to the spiritual journey of awakening and transformation. It is so important. And we've seen over the years it's getting easier and easier for people to begin to awaken into oneness. When I began as a spiritual teacher in this lifetime, it was over 50 years ago. And it was quite a roller coaster. It still is, but it was much tougher. And as more and more people are awakening on this planet, the works are getting greased. It's getting smoother and faster, and we have each other. You used to be kind of pretty much alone if you were out there awakening, and now you can find people everywhere who would relate to your experiences in your journey. So, thank you for that. We like to open it at this point to questions and answers on the spiritual journey, things you may be puzzling over, like more clarity, more understanding, obstacles you've faced, or maybe breakthroughs you've had that you'd like to share. And that's what fuels the conversation in Satsang, is when people feel moved by that inner divine to share questions, to share insights, so ask that still small voice inside of you if there's something you might ask. It's best, and we will answer philosophical questions, and I already see them coming in. But I prefer questions about your own spiritual practice and what you're experiencing and not experiencing and what you're desiring. We'll take the philosophical questions, but ask if where are you in your journey? What are you wrestling with? What do you need insight? And ask those questions, and whatever you ask, it moves the divine to inspire Suzanne and me to share light with you. And that's your part in the satsang. So while we look inside and ask our inner divine if there's something that we might share tonight in the satsang, I like to read these little articles from inspiringquotes.com, a group of authors that write timely little articles, and then quotes from influential people throughout history that shed light on these subjects. Tonight, we're going to be sharing 22 honesty quotes to inspire the truth. How about that? And this is put together by Tony Donnell, an English writer of nonfiction and fiction living on the edge of the Amazon jungle.
I haven't picked him in a while.
We've loved a lot of your offerings, Tony, and living on the edge of the Amazon is really special to us. I used to live in Bolivia and spent a lot of time in the Amazon. Susanna spent quality time in South America as well, and here we are.
Here we are.
And here we are. So, quotes to inspire the truth. And here's what Tony says. Of all the traits that are considered part of a moral character, few are more highly regarded than honesty. Being truthful with others, and also with ourselves, as the old proverb goes, honesty is the best policy. First written down by the English politician Edwin Sandys in 1599. The saying was later repeated by many famous figures, including eminent American thinkers and politicians such as Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington. The latter, Washington, used the proverb in his farewell address of 1796, saying, quote, "I hold the maxim no less applicable to public than to private affairs, that honesty is the best policy." And then there was Mark Twain, who rightly stated that honesty is the best policy when there's money in it. Rascal. Here are some more quotes from famous names who have held truth-telling in the highest regard, from William Shakespeare to Kristen Stewart. So here we go. No legacy is so rich as honesty. William Shakespeare. Let honesty be as the breath of thy soul. Benjamin Franklin. Honesty is one part of eloquence. We persuade others by being in earnest ourselves. William Hazlitt. He who dares not offend cannot be honest. Thomas Paine. To believe all men honest would be folly. To believe none so is something worse. John Quincy Adams. Honesty is the first chapter in the Book of Wisdom. Thomas Jefferson. Still I hope I shall always possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man. George Washington. Every man who expresses an honest thought is a soldier in the army of intellectual liberty. Robert G. Ingersoll. Let the watchwords of all our people be the old familiar watchwords of honesty, decency, fair dealing, and common sense. Theodore Roosevelt. Someone once asked me what I regarded as the 3 most important requirements for happiness. My answer was, a feeling that you've been honest with yourself and those around you. A feeling that you have done the best you could, both in your personal life and in your work, and the ability to love others. Eleanor Roosevelt. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. Sigmund Freud. never be afraid to raise your voice for honesty and truth and compassion against injustice and lying and greed. William Faulkner. Early on in my career, I had to decide between honest arrogance and hypocritical humility. I chose honest arrogance and have seen no occasion to change. Frank Lloyd Wright. I'd rather get bad news from an honest man than lies from a flatterer. Ursula K. Le Guin. To express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself, now that, my friend, is very hard to do. Bruce Lee. Being honest may not get you a lot of friends, but it'll always get you the right ones. John Lennon. I wish we could stop the little lies. I don't mean that one has to be brutally frank. I don't believe that we should be brutal about anything. However, it is wonderfully liberating to be honest. Maya Angelou. Almost any difficulty will move in the face of honesty. When I am honest, I never feel stupid. And when I am honest, I am automatically humble. Hugh Prather. Honesty is a very expensive gift. Don't expect it from cheap people. Warren Buffett. To live a life of honesty and integrity is a responsibility of every decent person. Noam Chomsky. Funny women are honest women. I guess that's also true for men. But no one ever asks me if my male characters are presenting a negative image of masculinity. Elizabeth Merriweather. It's impossible to always get across what I'm trying to say. But if I just stay honest, then I'm not going to look back on any of these interviews and wonder what I was trying to do or be. Kristen Stewart. Another one that wasn't on this list was from Mark Twain. Twain said, "If you always tell the truth, you never have to try to remember what it was you said." My dad taught me that when I was a kid. He said, if you're just honest, then you never have, and I went, what do you mean? He said, well, if you tell lies and stories, then when someone brings it up later on, you have to, what did I tell this person?
My mom taught me the same thing.
That was really good advice.
Yeah.
And what Bruce Lee said, to be honest with others and honest with yourself at the same time, that is hard. True enough. And I think that's the deepest part of truth telling, is to be truthful with ourselves. I think that often a good liar convinces himself or herself first, so that they can look you in the eye and be convincing. And that's happened so much these days that a lot of people don't know what's true anymore. They don't know what's up or down, and they want to look to people outside of themselves that they respect, hold in a high regard, to tell them what to think, to tell them what's true. That's becoming more and more difficult to do. So, commit yourself to the truth. You'll never regret it. Truth isn't easy. Like John Lennon said, it won't win you a lot of friends, but it'll bring you the right ones. We have an old friend, Gary King, who's still active out there, who, I forget what he called this really it was a ministry for a while. It was a challenge that people took up to take an intention, a strong commitment within themselves to only speak the truth. And I think Gary said you'll never know how hard that is until you actually make that commitment and notice what you're about to say to people, what you're about to say in certain situations, what you're saying to yourself to make light of something where we really need to look truth right in the eye and make our peace. So, there you go. Alrighty. So our first question is Mary Radke. Hi, Mary. What's the best way to clear old programs that are still causing issues in our life? Thank you for being here. Do you want to say anything to that?
Go ahead.
Well, an old friend of ours who's a spiritual teacher, his motto was, to see is to be free. If you can see that there are old programs that are still causing issues in your life, you're halfway there. Because the programs that do the most damage are unconscious. They may have been conscious at some point, but we couldn't stand that part of ourselves and swept it under the carpet, shoved it into the unconscious. Or some people think it's an admirable thing. Suppose you had an anger problem. Well, you should definitely suppress it, right? Not really. Because anything you resist will persist. And anything you suppress will express. There you go.
Oh, that's a new one.
Anything you suppress will eventually express. What needs to happen is it needs to come up in the light of consciousness. When an old program comes into consciousness, it's no longer an unconscious program, a subconscious program. It's something we can begin to work with. And there are lots of ways to reprogram your psyche, from many things that are taught in science of mind and new thought, to really rebuild and restructure your mind. So when you see that pattern emerge, you know what that is. You substitute, shift your mind to the truth that you want to embody, and that can work. Some programs, though, are very persistent and very powerful. And that's where a consistent meditation practice can be very helpful. There are many different kinds of meditation, but what I would call passive meditation, where you're not using so much mantra and visualization, but you're just sitting and allowing whatever is inside of you to just come up, and without resistance and without focusing on it. You keep letting whatever comes up go and turning your consciousness to the divine, turning your consciousness to pure being, and just resting in the presence. And the more you rest in the presence, those of you that have done it may notice, the more the unconscious begins to unload. And in that unloading, the divine presence actually begins to dissolve that stuff and take it apart. Certainly, some people probably could use therapy. If there's a persistent pattern that is destructive in life, there are some people that are very good at working with the psyche to help you to deconstruct those and to create new patterns that are productive in your life. We have a number of processes that we take people through, including the relationship process that deals with patterns that we see in relationships again and again. Some people have thought, oh my God, this relationship stinks. If I just get rid of it and get a new relationship, maybe things will change. But as it turns out, the outer world's a reflection of the inner world, and on some level, all of our relationships recapitulate those unconscious patterns until they're healed and dissolved. You want to add to that?
Yeah. you seem to be aware that you've got old programs that are, still repeating. So just during the day when they come up, take a moment instead of reacting to whatever that program has triggered, and go within and ask for grace for healing it and accepting it, because oftentimes those programs are something about ourselves that we don't like, and it's being pushed into the outer world and coming back to us as a reminder. So go into your heart and ask for grace, whatever form of the divine presence is most comfortable and loving for you, and ask for that to be healed. And I always make a really strong effort and intention that if I get triggered and a program comes up, that besides welcoming it with unconditional love, but to also just take a moment to not react and to ask for that grace and add some unconditional love, and then always respond from the heart. Because when we respond to people, when we react to people, it just reinforces that program and it makes things snowball. But I was talking about this with a friend this week. She asked basically, a similar question. And I said, with enough practice over the years, I've been able to, especially after reading the book Peace Pilgrim, I've been able to learn how to come from a space from the heart and see the people that are triggering me and my programs as with compassion, because they're being immature. And when we can see that, we don't get as triggered, because usually what triggers people is other people or situations or things that are happening in the moment.
It's because we still have those triggers. And that's where the shadow work comes in, which is another process we take people through. If there's a dominant pattern that keeps emerging that you don't like, probably that's become a shadow, a piece of your personality that you reject. And it starts, the more you reject it, the more power it takes and controls you. So we teach people to describe this part of yourself, what it's like, what it feels like, what it looks like, what it acts like, how you feel about it when this shadow personality in you begins to act out and gets triggered. And then after describing it in great detail, to bring it even closer and to begin to talk to it. And ask it, why are you doing this? What's in it for you to act this way? And tell this part of yourself how you feel about it, and listen to what it's saying to you, and tell it you don't need to be this way, and come to a place of forgiveness and embrace that part of yourself, this divided piece of yourself, in love, and bring it home into oneness in the heart. It's a profound process. It's something that most of us are not in a place to do this for ourselves. It's probably better to be guided through it, but you can learn to do it, and I do it. If I see a shadow, I can deal with it myself. But initially, it's good if someone takes you through it. And Carl Jung, great spiritual being and psychologist, he developed a lot of insight into the shadow and the shadow work, and said that's really where the deep transformation, the best thing you could do to help change the world is to face your own shadow material head on. And and he was right. And it's not easy, but it is well worth it. And so if there are old programs that are still causing issues, it's because they need to be faced, embraced, and taken home. So,
great question.
Yeah. Tristan asks, my first question is, how much do ancestors influence our well-being and health and wealth? Are there any thorough teachings in the Bible of ancestors' blessings? I mean, I've heard about the sins of our fathers, yes, of course. Our ancestors and ancestral karma does affect us, for sure. The Bible speaks of the sins of the ancestors affecting their children to 7 generations. But it speaks about the faithfulness of the ancestors bringing blessings on their progeny to 1,000 generations. So the positive karma of our ancestors is a much more powerful influence than the negative. But there can be ancestral karma. So what do you do about that? Well, you can do the ancestor work. There are ancestor processes that various traditions have, and it's another process that we teach. Incidentally, we have a course coming up, November 3rd and 4th, I think.
7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. It's on our website. It's the Diamond Heart Quantum Liberation process.
8th and 9th.
It's the Diamond Heart Quantum Liberation process. And I'll tell you the exact date. And there's plenty of information on our website. It is November 8th and 9th. You're quite correct, which is a Friday and Saturday. Join us if you can. We go through a lot of these processes we've just talked about. We guide people through in a small group, and that could be very beneficial. And in dissolving ancestral karma, to pray for your ancestors and to lift them up in the light so that they can continue their journey to oneness with the divine will really help. Of course, developing positive karma. I mean, if you know that your ancestors were brutal toward some other group of people, show special kindness to those people. I mean, work on healing that. But keep in mind that the power of blessing, which is clearly laid out in the Bible, is a lot more powerful than the sins of our fathers. And fortunately. But yes, what we do affects our children. So not only our ancestors, but what we do affects the generation that's following us.
Forgiveness is also a really important element. You could go into prayer or meditation and forgive your ancestors for anything that they may have done that has affected you or the world, and also seek forgiveness for things such as not remembering them or not paying respect to them. And that's true with all relationships, and you don't even have to contact the people. Obviously, you can't contact the ancestors directly, but on any relationship, seeking forgiveness and forgiving is a very, very powerful tool for healing.
Okay. The second question, I heard about 3 types of curses, occult curses. This is not my specialty. The occult is not my specialty. The esoteric is. Occult is the world of magic and manipulation. Occult curses. 3 types. Curses from the sins of the family. Curses family members have on other family members unknowingly through the tongue and word. Have you ever been requested to remove curses? And what is enlightened understanding? Thank you, always trying to hit you angels with those curveball questions. Well, you did it. Okay, look. Curses. Well, it is true that curses exist. But usually that just raises fear in people. Oh, a gypsy cursed me, or a family member cursed me, or something. The power of God is infinitely more powerful than any curse. And yeah, and the Bible, Tristan, says a lot about blessing and cursing. Deuteronomy 28 lists all the curses that can come upon a person from being out of fellowship with the divine light. And it lists all the blessings that can come upon you for being in fellowship with the light, for giving yourself to the light. So that's what you do. When you walk in a dark room, it may seem to be filled with the shadows of turn on the light. I mean, you can do all kinds of occult mischief, and you can light candles and do all this stuff. And I'm not saying that may not work, but all you need to do is open the door to the light of the divine, and the curses dissolve. Shift from what brings the curses to what brings the blessings. And in every case where the Bible's concerned, it's being in fellowship with the divine. Walking with the divine, living with the divine, responding to what the divine is asking you to do. If you're doing things that you shouldn't be doing that are bringing curses in your life, you're going to have to just stop. And if you need help, ask the divine for help. If you can't deal with it yourself, there are groups that meet. Like the 12-step groups and others that help people come together and open their lives to the divine and to a higher power, and to do the work of the steps that need to be taken to clear your soul, to disengage from the destructive behavior and open yourself more fully to your higher power. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. Thanks for hitting us with those curveball questions. And yes, I've been requested to remove curses. And what I do, first of all, is invoke the presence. Because the presence, the anointing of the divine presence, breaks the yoke of oppression and drives out the darkness, dissolves fear, dissolves cursing and darkness. If it's really something profound, I will use the authority of the divine name to command that curse to be broken and release the person. In some cases, rarely, the grip of darkness may be so strong that it might take a few days of fasting, in addition to using the divine name and the power of faith. I don't recommend that line of work unless you have a strong relationship with the divine. You don't just run into this stuff and start flipping the divine name around like a magical talisman. That's not how it works. The divine name works because you have a relationship with that divine one that's being named. By calling on that name and invoking its presence and inviting it to fulfill its promises, well, good results come. And we're not done yet. Mary writes, I'm being guided to support my body by practicing Qigong. Bless you. Is there a form that you could recommend that would help stabilize my body and handle these higher frequencies? I feel the need to be more grounded. Well, for more than 50 years, I have been a Taoist priest, and I teach Tao on Pai, the Taoist elixir style of Qigong. I still teach it. I'm an ordained Taoist priest as well as other things, and an abbot, and I teach it here every week. I highly recommend the Taoist elixir system. There are hundreds of styles of Qigong. But for dealing with higher energies, I haven't found an energetic system that can deal with the awakening of Kundalini or the release of the inner dragon, we might say, from the Chinese culture, in a holistic and grounded way than the Tao on Pai. But in general, Taoist Qigong is very grounded and experiences higher states and higher frequencies through the body in a very grounded and integrated way, which you may not experience, for instance, in India, where you may just get blasted out and not talk for the next 10 years and sit on a pillow. Which is we've spent a lot of time in India, with some very high beings, and it's lovely stuff. But if you're looking for stabilizing your body and handling these higher frequencies and needing to be more grounded, Taoist Qigong is the way to go. And there are many styles of Taoist Qigong. I recommend the Taoist elixir style, Tao on Pai in Cantonese or Tao Dan Pai in Mandarin. And if you need to know more, reach out. There's some things on our website. If you go down the menu on the left, you'll reach buttons for the Taoist arts. And I recommend you start there. Mary also says, the program that I have the biggest issue with is self-worth. I get that. And that's why we need to go deep and become familiar with our true self. There's nothing to feel down about your true self. In your essence, your essential self is one with the divine. It's pure light. And so establishing a deep connection with the divine is the best way to deal with it, because you are loved unconditionally by the being of the universe. The supreme being from which everything emerges and that sustains everything in existence loves you, Mary, unconditionally beyond anything you can understand. And when we open ourselves to that connection and it begins to deepen, one of the first things the divine does is build up our sense of self-worth. I love you. You're not separate from me. I don't judge you. That's the amazing thing, because religion is taught that God's, or the divine, or the higher powers looking over our shoulder, ready to mete out punishments and lessons and all that stuff. The divine wants nothing more than to hold up the mirror and show you your true self. And you'd love you like we do, like the divine does. But low self-worth is tough. But all that's rooted in the mind judging you. And so spiritual development that takes you beyond the mind into spirit and being is where liberation's found. So again, that question we should have had all evening to discuss. There's more, but I know of no better place to start than the discovery of your essential self, because you are so much more amazing, evidently, than you've come to realize. And Michael Christopher says, I want relationship process. Well, I'd say you're in one. Just not making light of it. And yes, we'll be doing more relationship process, but definitely, you can see that this is something that the divine has been working with you through for some time. And sometimes it is a process. I'm guessing it's one of the reasons you're here this lifetime. So hang in there, dear friend.
The other thing too about self-worth is what I've struggled with is not receiving appreciation, not receiving compliments, not receiving assistance, not receiving nurturance in general. And I'm still working on that a lot. But I think oftentimes when we have low self-worth, we're not receiving the fullness and the richness, and we might be over-giving and under-receiving. So that's another element to it too, is to become more conscious of when we're rejecting nurturance, when we're rejecting compliments, when we're shrugging away from positive, vibrant energy coming into our lives, because everything is a circle and a flow. And, we receive and we give. And there's got to be a balance to both. If we're just giving and not receiving, then we're out of balance. And then our body gets out of balance, and our mind, and our hearts. And so remember to receive.
To know what your self is worth, you need to know yourself, your true self. Self-realization is the key. And there's so many tools we're offered and so much grace. And that's what our work is all about. All right, well, let's see. It's almost 10 o'clock. Close your eyes. We're gonna, the intention blessing is gonna be, we're gonna probably shorten that so we can still do the light meditation at the end, but go ahead and close your eyes and invoke the presence and just begin to receive the flowering heart blessing, which is being sent to you right now through intention. It's pouring out of your heart, your inmost being. For the fullness of the Godhead dwells within you. The source of all existence is within you. The outer world is just a reflection of the inner world. And this divine presence loves you unconditionally, no strings attached. It's all wise, it's all knowing. It knows all your secrets. It knows all that you've done and all the mistakes you'll ever make, and loves you regardless. Receive that love. Breathe it in right now. It's pouring out of your heart. It's flowing down from above like a waterfall. It's flooding you from every direction. The presence is everywhere. Receive. You don't need to ask now. The divine knows what you want and what you need. Just receive and allow the divine to work on you. Breathing it in. Breathe in the light, the life, the grace that's pouring out to you. Just keep drinking it in. The divine knows exactly what needs to be done and is all powerful and all wise, all knowing, able to do it. Just let go. It will fill your spirit with light, illumination, enlightened consciousness. It will flood your soul, the layer of your mind and your emotions and all that programming with grace to dissolve all that's damaging and hurtful and those programs we've talked about, and replace them with divinely inspired thoughts and feelings, ideas and programs. It will flood your body with healing grace. The divine wants to heal your body too. And your relationships. Just keep receiving and drinking it in and letting it flood every layer of your being. Imagine we're sitting in a circle, a blessing circle, And with our eyes still closed, let us lift up our hands with our palms open, facing forward. And let us all invite the divine to pour the flowering heart blessing through us to everyone else in the circle. As it flows through you to them, it transforms you. The divine works on you as you allow it to flow through you to others. And it's flowing back to you through all of them. Let us picture the earth in the middle of our circle. And let us take a strong intention and ask the divine to flood the earth, and especially humanity, with peace. To melt the hatred, the division, the judgment, the violence. To fill every human heart with love and peace. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Now you can rest your hands in your lap somewhere. And when you're ready, open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just keep gazing at least one of our eyes and don't look away. As we begin the light meditation, Suzanne and I are flooded with oceans of light and love and transforming grace. It streams through every fiber of our being to you, especially through our eyes, the windows of the sun. As you keep gazing at least one of our eyes, the light streams out through our eyes, in through your eyes, into your heart of hearts, causing the light of awakening and the fires of divine love to burn brighter and brighter and brighter within you. All you need to do is keep looking, relax, and receive. meditate with us a few more minutes as the grace settles within you. Meditating as long as it feels good to you. And or find a place nearby to lie down in Shavasana. Shavasana is a pose, a yoga pose, where you just lie comfortably on your back with your eyes closed and your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward. And just let yourself dissolve in the presence with gratitude. We love you very much.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we meet again, know that the divine in us beholds the divine within you. And we bow to you.
Namaste.
Namaste.